The Ultimate Husband. By Sky Kissing Wolf.
Episode 121. August noon, brilliant weather. However, the atmosphere at the Darby mansion was extremely gloomy. The clan gathered in the main hall, glancing at Jackson and Rebecca with grim expressions. "Jackson, have you thought this through?" Drake asked. "Yes, Dad." Jackson nodded. "I have. I fully support Rebecca's decision to have the baby." He looked at Rebecca's belly. Indeed, she was pregnant. However, she and Jackson had not consummated their marriage. Ever since the wedding where Rebecca was raped, Jackson gave her space to heal from the trauma. After all, it was distressing for her. However, Jackson did not foresee that Rebecca would get pregnant. One does not need to guess who the father was. The news of Rebecca's pregnancy spread throughout the entire Darby clan barely within a day. "Jackson, you're crazy." "Yeah, this kid isn't yours. Why are you keeping it? Daryl raped your wife, yet you still want to keep his child." Everyone in the family was yelling in indignation. Jackson clenched his fist tightly. Slam. Yumi hit the table. She stood up and said, "Jackson, have you gone mad? Daryl, that filthy animal has humiliated us all by doing such a degrading thing. Now, if you and Rebecca had the baby, and the world knew of this, it would reflect badly on us. We will live in shame." "Yes. Jackson. You have to think this through." Florian chimed in. He looked exasperated. If they had carried out a DNA test, he would be busted. He had to stop this no matter what. Yumi felt the same. If everyone knew the truth, Florian would be done for. He would not be able to live in peace for the rest of his life. "Big brother, sister-in-law. We've decided to keep the baby. Don't try to persuade me otherwise." Jackson shook his head. "Rebecca. Jackson's mad, but why are you following in his lead? You should persuade him. You're pregnant with that bastard Daryl's child." Yumi cried in distress. Rebecca bit her lip, then she said, "Sister-in-law, please do not worry. I have discussed it with Jackson. No matter what, the child did nothing wrong. It is a precious life. Furthermore, he is a Darby." Rebecca lowered her head. The rest of the Darby clan started berating Daryl. "How unfortunate. Daryl, that filthy animal. Why does Jackson have to bear the burden? Daryl and his family deserve to burn in hell." Platinum Corporation, the president's office. Daryl instructed Pearl to register a new real estate company. He even thought of the name Winden Real Estate. Though it is not very elegant, it is easy to remember. As Pearl left, Daryl could not wait any longer. He fished out the ancient sword. Though it was something he got from a random stall, he felt good about it. The blade was exceptionally rusted, and it needed to be cleaned. Daryl headed towards the washroom. He found a steel ball scrub and turned on the tap, starting to scrub the sword. It was all in vain. The rush could not be scrubbed of. What's happening? He used his entire strength to clean it, but the sword remained rusty. He was about to give up, thinking the sword was worthless, when he accidentally cut himself. Fuck. Daryl swore. How is the sword still so sharp, even though it's rusted? His blood dripped onto the sword. Shying. Instantly, the blood was absorbed by the sword. It started to glow with a blood-red hue. Kacha. The rust was all gone. The sword finally revealed its true form. Episode 122. The sword was blood-red with a realistic dragon carved on it. It was about 3 feet and 2 inches long. Blood-drinking sword was engraved into the other side of the blade. What was happening? Daryl could barely react when a buzzing, mysterious voice entered his head. The blood-drinking sword has acknowledged its master. Current level, Category Red, Level 1. Wow. Even weapons have their own levels as well. Category Red, Level 1, must be strong, thought Daryl excitedly. He took out his phone and dialed Megan. Megan was a senior sister in the Ame sect. She had to know more than him. The moment the phone call got through, Daryl asked, "Officer Costello, do weapons have different levels?" They had not contacted each other in many days, yet this was the first question he asked. Megan nodded. Yes, they do, she replied. Did you acquire one recently? A sword, Daryl laughed. It was recent. I felt odd, so I called you up for your advice. How are the level categorized? Why should I tell you, she chuckled. Ah. Megan continued, call me my good sister, I'll tell you then. This woman is so vengeful. Previously, when they were kidnapped at the Grandmaster Heaven cult, he made her call him my good brother. Clearly, she had not forgotten about this. Daryl was flabbergasted, unable to open his mouth. How about I treat you to a meal, he offered. Not interested. You either call me my good sister, or I'll hang up the phone, she replied firmly. This woman. Even though Daryl was embarrassed to call her that, his curiosity overtook his pride as he observed the sword in his hands. My good sister, he sighed quietly. I can't hear you. Megan giggled louder. My good sister. Daryl exclaimed in defeat. That's more like it. Seeing how sincere you were, I'll divulge the information to you. The cultivator's weapon can be categorized into 7 categories according to the colors of the rainbow. In ascending order, the categories are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet. Each category has 5 levels. Fuck. So, this sword is at the lowest level. Bloody hell. Daryl thought to himself sullenly. Even though it might be category red, level 1, it is still stronger than any ordinary weapon. Megan continued. Some weapons have Unkaiyu hidden skills. Why don't you bring it over and let me have a look? Sure, he agreed. Where are you? I'm at the bank. I'll meet you here, she confirmed. At the bank entrance, Daryl decided to leave his sword in the car to be less conspicuous. There was a queue inside. Megan mentioned that she was handling special businesses, so Daryl headed over to the VIP section. A woman in uniform named Sharon Todd stopped him dead in his tracks, questioning him with a professional smile. Sir, may I help you? I'm looking for a friend, he grinned in return. She's handling some business inside. Business? With such ordinary clothes, Daryl looked like a typical white-collar salaryman. How could he enter the VIP section? The woman denied Daryl with the same smile, but her eyes dimmed. I'm sorry, this is a VIP section, not everyone is allowed in. If you're looking for someone, please wait in the main lobby. Daryl was stunned. He shook his head and replied, Then, I'll make a deposit. The woman maintained her smile, but her tone was impatient. You can do that in the main lobby. There are automated machines there too. We do not serve regular customers in the VIP section. If you want to make any transactions in the VIP section, you need to at least have $1 million. I doubt this man even has $100,000, Sharon thought to herself. All right, then. I'll make a withdrawal. Daryl said calmly. Sir, I've told you, she sighed haughtily. It doesn't matter if you make a deposit or a withdrawal. You can do it in the main lobby. You can even do it using the automated machines. What's with this man? Is he mentally ill? Sharon complained to herself. He's clearly here to cause trouble. Can't he see himself in the mirror? Standing in front of the VIP section will tarnish our bank's image. She was extremely impatient. Facing tons of people like him daily, who have nothing better to do, was such a waste of time. Episode 123. Daryl shook his head. Bloody hell, am I not wearing a good set of clothes? Elle just bought them. Why do people keep looking down on me? Even though he bought it from a street vendor, it was cheap and comfortable. Fine, I won't go in. Daryl exclaimed, accepting his defeat. He could not be bothered to start an argument with her. He was about to phone Megan to let her know that he would be at the entrance when Sharon stomped over to him in high heels. If you want to make a phone call, do it outside. Do not disturb our VIPs, she ordered. I can't even make a call. Daryl was dumbfounded. No, she shrieked, pointing towards the main entrance. The VIP entrance is not for you to loiter around. Make you call outside. A security guard walked over. Sir, this is the VIP section, he frowned. Please don't linger around here. You'll disturb the others. The other customers started to notice the commotion. Who is this poor, broke dude trying to enter the VIP section? He must be trying to skip the queue. Look, isn't that the Linden family's live-in son-in-law? Someone piped up suddenly. Haha. It's true. Sharon became Bossier towards Daryl after listening to their comments. So, he's just a good-for-nothing, toy boy, live-in son-in-law. He's not even an honest white-collar salaryman, she thought. Guard, please escort him out, she ordered the guard while pointing at Daryl. I just want to make a withdrawal at the VIP section, he sighed. Is this man mentally ill? How much do you want to withdraw? She sneered. 10,000. Or 20. At the main lobby, you can withdraw up to $50,000 per day. I'm sure it's more than enough for you. In the VIP section, we only allow transactions of $1 million or more. Fine, I'll withdraw $5 million. In cash. Daryl demanded. He took out his card, shoving it into Sharon's hand. Everyone heard him loud and clear. Haha. No way. Does he want to withdraw $5 million? I'll guess he was so mistreated by the Linden family that he must have gone insane. The crowd started jeering. On the other hand, Sharon was trembling, her legs feeling like jelly. The card, was it an Amethyst Bank black card? At the exact moment, the bank manager, Lee, walked out. He glanced at the card in Sharon's hands and was scared half to death. It was a black card. There were only 3 cards issued in the entire Donghai city. Sir, I'm the manager of this bank. Allow me to serve you, he smiled politely. Everyone else was confused. Why was this bank manager treating Daryl so politely? They had no concept of the black card. No wonder he was the bank manager, he had a high EQ. He handled situations like this well, they thought. Lee took the card from Sharon's trembling hands. The most exclusive card that he had ever seen was a platinum card. He had never encountered the black card. This person cannot be offended, not even the leader of the main branch can afford to. Lee stared at Sharon, hinting at her to take a step back. Sharon was stunned, quivering with fear. She was done for, having offended a customer with a black card. There's no need for you to be involved. I only want to withdraw some cash. Get her to do it. Daryl replied, glaring at Sharon. Lee nodded. He frowned at her and ordered, "What are you standing there for? Go." Sharon obeyed, immediately running to the counter. Daryl took a seat on the sofa as Lee immediately served him a cup of tea. The change in demeanor was jarring. The onlookers were stunned. Daryl ignored them, enjoying his cup of tea. Not long after, Sharon appeared with 2 suitcases stuffed to the brim with cash. Episode 124. Everyone was stunned seeing the 2 suitcases of cash. Sir, this is $5 million. Sharon approached Daryl with caution. She was extremely polite and did not dare to look Daryl in the eye. Now deposit them and take 1,000 out. Daryl replied flatly. He did not need that much cash. 1,000 was enough for him. Sharon did not dare disobey. She quickly went and returned Shortle with 1,000. Megan appeared at the same time. Daryl, you're only withdrawing 1,000, why are you at the VIP section? She asked with confusion. Were VIP sections open to the public now? It used to be restricted for transactions worth more than $1 million. Were banks getting more lenient in their guidelines? Megan was not in her uniform today. She wore a white shirt, with a body-hugging skirt. She was extremely attractive and onlookers were gawking at her. This bank has excellent customer service, they treat me like a VIP even though I only withdrew $1,000, replied Daryl. He added, unlike some people who look down on me for having no money, your fiancé, for instance. He thinks he can look down on others just because he has money. Megan frowned, she defended, Daryl, Kent is actually, ... Run, someone screamed out of a sudden. A few masked men entered the bank. What are you doing? Yelled the security guard. One of the men hit the guard with a club, he passed out. There was an uproar amongst the crowd in the bank. Everyone squat on the floor and put your phone down, the leader screamed. Wearing a camouflage tank top, with tattoos on his arm, holding a gun, he was terrifying. The crowd fearfully obeyed. Megan clenched her fist. As a police officer, she could not stand to watch this situation unfold. However, she was outnumbered. There were a dozen men. She could not be reckless. So she bit her lip and put her phone on the ground. These people are the magos of the society. Megan was furious. Should we stop them? Daryl offered with a smile. Are you crazy? Do you want to die? Elle recognized a few of them, they're all wanted criminals. A bunch of filthy animals. Megan replied with a stare. Daryl shrugged. It seems that Megan was not stupid after all. He was half afraid that she might suddenly stand up and try to arrest them. The men were experienced. 2 men were guarding the entrance, while the rest ordered the tellers to fill up the bags of cash with no serial numbers. They clearly have done this before. Knowing that getting cash without serial numbers, the police would not be able to track them down. Bitch. Are you trying to get yourself killed? The leader screamed at a lady before she had a chance to ring the alarm. He pointed the gun at her threateningly. I'm so sorry, please don't kill me, the lady trembled with fear, begging for her life. Fuck you, you think I'm joking? How dare you try to ring the alarm? The leader sneered. The bank was dead silent, no one dared to move a muscle. The leader pointed the gun at the lady's head, ignoring her plea. Everyone thought that the lady was going to die. These men were bold enough to rob a bank, who was to say that they would not commit murder as well? He was about to pull the trigger when Megan stopped them. How dare you rob a bank in daylight? She stomped her heels and approached them. Fuck, what are you doing? Daryl whispered rather loudly. He was flabbergasted. There was a saying that goes, women with big breasts have no brains. She clearly had none. Why was she so reckless? Episode 125. The men were shocked at Megan's reaction. They sized her up, high heels, white shirt, and a body-hugging skirt. She was as gorgeous as a movie star. I'm a cop. Put down your weapons. Megan said coldly. Cop. The men's expression darkened. They looked at each other, then surrounded Megan. Daryl's head hurts. This woman had no weapon on her, yet she dared to stand up to them. He slapped his forehead, then silently crept toward them. Brothers, tie her up, the leader howled. This was an unexpected gift. She was too beautiful. The men smiled devilish and approached Megan with a rope. This woman is such a troublemaker, thought Daryl. He sighed, then rushed forward. Megan, looked after the rest. I'll deal with the robbers, yelled Daryl. He punched the first robber in the face. The robber could barely react and his body flew across and passed out. What? Knocking someone unconscious with only one punch? Was he not a useless live-in son-in-law? How was he so strong? What was his background? Everyone was stunned. The robbers hesitated. They did not dare to tackle Daryl. One of the robbers said, "Boss, we've met a tough one." The leader swore, "Fuck that. He is only one person. What are you all afraid of? Kill him. We don't have much time left." According to their plan, the entire process should take less than 5 minutes. It had taken way longer than expected. If the police arrived, they would be caught. The men obeyed their leader and they attacked. Daryl smiled calmly. All these while, cultivating his internal energy plus his mastery in Wing Chun, he was not afraid. He took a step back, then kicked one of the robbers. The robber fell in pain. Daryl did not wait for the rest to react. He served 2 more punches. One man fell with each punch. He barely broke a sweat. Within a minute, all of the men were lying on the floor in pain. What? How can one person defeat all my men? Thought the leader. The leader knew how strong his men were. They could easily defeat a street gang. However, Daryl tackled them to the ground effortlessly. The leader was desperate. He did not want to resort to using the gun, but it seemed he had no choice now. He aimed the gun at Daryl and yelled, "You bastard! Are you looking for death? Watch out!" Megan screamed. However, Megan knew that from the distance, Daryl could easily dodge the bullet. Daryl knew this as well. At that moment, he noticed a young girl cowering behind him. If he dodged the bullet, it will definitely hit her. Episode 126. To dodge or not to dodge, that was the question. In the fraction of a second, Daryl decisively chose the latter. As Megan exclaimed, she noticed the female student. Suddenly, her heart quivered. He was willing to take the bullets for someone irrelevant. Megan gave Daryl a strange gaze. Thoughts were spinning in Megan's mind when the camouflaged man pulled the trigger. Bang! Accompanied by a shocking sound, Daryl's body fell backward and blood shot out from his left shoulder. Daryl took in a sharp inhale when the pain attacked him. However, he gritted his teeth to stop him from making any sound. He retreated a few steps back and had his eyes fixed on the camouflaged man. He cracked a smile. "Your gun skills is not that good." While talking, Daryl tore a piece of cloth from his body and quickly wrapped it over his wound. The entire lobby of the bank was dead silent. Those people who were lying on the ground had their mouth agape and eyes staring wide in astonishment. The several robbers who were defeated by Daryl were also speechless. What the fuck? Did he just take a shot and still manage to talk and laugh? You. Megan stomped anxiously. She anxiously wanted Daryl to watch his mouth, as it was not a good time to provoke the robbers. In fact, Daryl was in so much pain that he painstakingly held it back. After he took the universal pill and became a cultivator, Daryl's physical endurance was much better than ordinary people. When he was abusing the camouflage man with vulgarity, he held a gold bar stealthily in his hand. There were gold bars and silver bars on the bank's counter. The customers would buy those bars as a choice of investment of their wealth. Daryl waved his hand and the gold bar landed on the camouflage man's hand, knocking his gun off to the ground. You. The camouflaged man was shocked. He was panicking. He quickly grabbed a little girl and placed her in front of him, then he pulled out a dagger and rested it on the girl's neck. Motherfucker. You stand back. The camouflaged man roared loudly. His eyes were red, and he was agitated. The little girl cried out loud in horror. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. She was only around 4 or 5 years old. So young. Of course, she had never experienced such a terrorizing event in her life. She was scared witless. Fuck. Daryl cursed furiously and was about to rush over to the girl's rescue. Crazy motherfucker. How could he take such a little girl as a hostage? Even if the little girl was saved eventually, the incident would haunt her for the rest of her life. Don't come over, or I'll kill her. Step back. I said step back, you fucker. The camouflaged man howled loudly, and the dagger in his hand was pressed tightly against the little girl's neck. The time seemed to have stopped as everyone held their breath with their hearts almost leaping out from their throats. Everyone, except for the robbers. They never thought that the ringleader would be so vicious and flagrantly held a little girl hostage. Daryl stopped dead in his tracks, clenching his fists tightly. Haha, young man, aren't you powerful? Aren't you good at sparring? Why are you afraid now? The camouflaged man teased coldly and peeked at Megan. And you? You try coming one step closer and you'll see what's next. The camouflaged man laughed sinisterly. Quick. Put the money in the car and let's go. The brawny men took the money and walked out quickly. On the other hand, the camouflaged man held the little girl in his arms, his eyes glued on Daryl. When they got outside, the group got into a van and drove quickly toward the outer suburbs. As soon as the robbers left, everyone in the hall was relieved. Megan wasted no time. She ran on her high heels after the robbers. Before she reached the door, she turned around and went to Daryl. She asked anxiously, Daryl, can you drive me to catch up with them? What? Daryl was puzzled. His shoulder was still bleeding profusely. You better call up the police. It's not safe for the two of us to go after them. Daryl suggested. He was dying to save the little girl, but things were not as simple as what they thought. They had to act wisely and not put their lives at risk. No, we have to keep up with them. Megan was anxious. Otherwise we won't be able to find them. Their hideouts are obscure. The little girl might not survive until we get help. Those people don't take her life seriously. Daryl, come with me, will you? Episode 127. The robbers' van sped toward the outskirts. The robbers in the car removed the black cloth on their heads one by one. Their eyes flashed with excitement when they saw the big bags of money in the back of the van. "We have got a problem, Brother Walter. The brat and the policewoman are behind us." A robber glanced back inadvertently and noticed the car behind them. He shouted at the camouflaged men in panic. The other robbers quickly looked around to check. Their expressions changed drastically. There were so many of them in the bank, yet they were unable to subdue the brat. Instead, Daryl managed to counterattack them. Besides, Daryl seemed to be just fine even after he took a shot from Brother Walter. "What's up? Don't tell me that you guys are afraid of a brat like him. Drive up the mountain. The mountain has a poor signal. Even if they call up the police, it will not be easy for them to locate us." The camouflaged man called Brother Walter wore a grim expression and rebuked in anger when he noticed that Daryl and Megan were indeed behind their van. Even though he sounded confident, there was anxiety and anger in his eyes. The camouflaged man was named Lance Walter. He was a desperado who had done almost all evil. He fled to Donghai City and was thinking of making a big fortune, but he was unlucky to have encountered Daryl, the tough snag. Fortunately, despite the twists and turns, he got the money. Moreover, he had a little girl as a hostage, so he knew the other party dared not act rashly. He could possibly get rid of them if he was vigilant. Perhaps he could get a taste of beauty. Ha ha. A grin spread across Lance Walter's face when he thought of the sweet possibilities. In the Audi R8 behind the van. "Daryl, go faster and find a chance to stop them." Seeing Daryl, who was unruffled behind the wheels, Megan had to urge him anxiously. Daryl smiled faintly. "Don't worry, they will stop when they reach the side of the mountain." The group of robbers was heading toward the barren mountain north of Donghai City, where Daryl encountered the Tomb Raiders last time. Daryl remembered very clearly that the barren mountain had not been developed, so the paved way was only built halfway up the mountain. The van had to pull up to a stop when it reached the end of the road. Moreover, he had confidence that his sports car could easily outperform the van. If he were to forcibly stop the van and cause a collision, his sports car would suffer damage. Although both he and Megan were cultivators that could survive in the event of a crash, the little girl in the van might be injured due to the impact. Even if they did not intercept the robber would not harm the little girl, for she was their safety amulet before they managed to escape. How could Megan stay calm? All she wanted was to rescue the hostage quickly and then subdue the robbers. After all, it was her responsibility as a policewoman. Just as she was about to urge Daryl again, she turned her head and noticed Daryl's shoulder that was bathed with blood. She took the edge off, bit her lips and said, "LS, you're wound okay." She felt embarrassed that she had just realized Daryl too was injured. Why have I forgotten that he was injured and only had my eyes on the robbers? Besides, he was injured because he saved a female college student who was a stranger to him. "It's okay." Daryl forced a smile and responded casually. Two cars went up the mountain one after the other, and soon the road up the mountain had come to an end. A group of robbers got out of the car, holding the little girl. Megan quickly opened the car door and stepped out on her high heels. Daryl glanced at the back seat and hid the blood-drinking sword in his clothes. Although the sword was a lower power, it was a weapon in any ways. "You two are such a nuisance. You just won't give up, will you? If you dare to take a step forward, I will kill her." Lance's eyes flashed with anger, and he threatened coldly. Putting the little girl in front of himself again, he raised his dagger. The little girl seemed to be extremely terrified. She did not cry, but her face was chalk white. Lance screamed as he looked around and noticed that they were surrounded by a vast stretch of forest. It was because of the man and woman duo that they were forced up that desolated mountain. Otherwise, he and his companions would have successfully left Donghai City, happily splitting the money. "Hurry up and put down your weapons. Let the child go. You still have a chance to turn over a new leaf. Don't dig your own graves," Megan said solemnly. Lance laughed coldly. "Stop talking nonsense. I am not afraid of you, police, if I dared to do this in the first place." Megan's body trembled when she heard that. There were always such assholes in society. Causing disarray in society. Daryl also had a long face. He took a step forward and stared at Lance. You use a child as a shield and keep saying that you are not afraid of the police. As a man, do you still have the cheek to say that? What the hell are you suggesting? Lance was angry. He had homicidal tendencies. For more than a year, he had done more than a dozen heinous crimes, big and small, with his group of members. Things went smoothly under his planning and command. In the eyes of his members, he was a perfect planner and big brother to them. He had their respect and admiration. Episode 128. He was piqued to be humiliated by the young brat in front of him. What? Am I wrong? Let the child go if you still have a teeny bit of guilt, conscience, and humanity. Daryl kept his straight face and said as he continued to approach the robbers. Motherfucker. Stop it, you fucking stop right there. Lance shouted, hatred ablaze in his eyes. What is Daryl doing? Megan wondered anxiously. She was all tensed up. She thought that Daryl must be out of his mind. Why if the robber were flurried and they ended up hurting the innocent child? Daryl cracked a smile. To be honest, I admire your courage. You dared to rob a bank with just a few members. However, it's shameful to take a little girl as a hostage. Your goal is just to escape, isn't it? What if you take me as a hostage instead and release the little girl? Lance did not respond, his eyes fired up in intense rage. Daryl smiled indifferently and continued, you hate me, don't you? This little girl is innocent, and you have no grievances and grudges against her. Good, good, good. Lance's eyes were red, he hated Daryl a lot. Since he wanted to be the hostage so badly, I'll grant him his wish. Lance clenched his fist tight and hissed between his gritted teeth, you want to be a hero, don't you? You think you're fucking awesome. I'll make you cry today. You come over slowly. Don't you pull any tricks. Daryl smiled and spread his arms to show that he had no weapons. Then, he walked over slowly. Daryl. Megan's face was complicated and shouted out loud. Daryl had just taken the bullet for a stranger female student. And he was about to put himself at risk to rescue the little girl. Is he not afraid at all? Megan bit her lip as she wanted Daryl's back. He was known as the useless live-in son-in-law. That was not true, he was really a good man. Daryl walked forward step by step. 10 meters. 5 meters. 3 meters. As he got closer and closer, Megan's heart was beating faster and faster. When he was within the last 1 meter range, Lance let go of the little girl. The little girl was frightened and she ran to Megan quickly. At the same time, Lance grabbed Daryl and the dagger in his hand was about to be placed on Daryl's neck. Daryl smiled coldly, and drew out his blood-drinking sword in the nick of the time. Hum. The sword light released by the blood-drinking sword almost dyed half of the mountain in red. Arg. Lance could not open his eyes because of the sharp flash of light. Before he could react, he felt a dreadful pain on his wrist. He screamed aloud when he lost grip of his dagger and it fell to the ground. Blood oozed out from his wrist and stained the sword. Arg. Arg. Lance was screaming like a pig. He ran into the thick forests quickly. I'll remember you. You wait for me right there. I'll go after you. Lance shouted while running for his life. In a blink of an eye, the dozen robbers had disappeared in the forest. Daryl did not want to chase after them. When he drew out his blood-drinking sword just now, his fast action tore his bullet wound up and his arm was bleeding profusely. Fuck. Daryl pressed the bullet hole hard to stop the bleeding. A mysterious voice suddenly appeared in his mind. The blood-drinking sword has been successfully upgraded, the current level is level 2 red stage. What? Upgraded? Fuck. Even the weapon can be upgraded. Episode 129. Your wound. Megan walked up to Daryl quickly. She asked about his wound anxiously. It's okay. Daryl shook his head, looking relaxed. In fact, he was just holding the pain in. His wound was affected when he wielded the blood-drinking sword earlier, he was in a lot of pain. Megan nodded and said nothing more. She still looked very worried through her eyes when she took the little girl into the car. The moment Daryl got into his car, he felt a burst of unbearable pain spread from his shoulder. He cursed silently. The bullet was stuck in his wound for a long time. If he did not get it out in time, he might lose too much blood. Instead of starting the car engine, he untied the cloth wrapped around his shoulder and used his internal energy to force the bullet out. When the bullet popped out of his wound, Daryl quivered in pain. His forehead was covered with sweat. Fuck. Fortunately, I became a cultivator. Otherwise, I might be incapacitated if the bullet is left in my wound for too long. Megan was extremely worried. She wanted to offer help, but she dared not because of the dark surrounding. She feared that she would hurt Daryl by accident if she was unable to see the wound clearly. Therefore, she had to let Daryl handle it himself. After the bullet was out, Daryl started driving away from the mountain. He looked through the rearview mirror and saw the little girl was holding his car key. She was trying to tie her delicate little rag doll to the key. Daryl was curious, so he asked her with a smile, "Little sister, what are you doing?" The little girl answered in a serious tone, "Thank you, big brother, for saving me. This is my favorite toy. I take it with me wherever I go. Now I give it to you, big brother. It can protect you and keep you safe." Hearing those innocent words, Megan showed a gentle smile and reached out to caress the little girl's head. The atmosphere in the car was sweet and warm, nothing like they had just experienced a dangerous situation. Somehow, Daryl was puzzled. He thought that a young child must be frightened after experiencing a terrifying event. However, the little girl looked like she was recovering from the fright quite well, apart from being a little panicked at the start. Are children these days so emotionally strong? After the little girl tied her doll to his car key, Daryl took the key and started the engine. He turned the car around and drove down the mountain. Megan asked softly, "Little sister, where is your home? Do you know the way home? We will send you home later, okay?" The little girl tilted her head and thought for a moment before saying, "Just send me to the entrance of the bank. I will go home by myself." "Why?" Daryl was alarmed. Megan was puzzled. The little girl stretched out her little hand and pointed to the injury on Daryl's shoulder. "Big brother is seriously injured, he has to go to the hospital. I don't want to take up his time." Daryl and Megan exchanged looks and they could not help but smile sweetly. The little girl was so young yet she was so sensible. Whoever her parents were, they must be blessed to have her. Feeling touched, Daryl smiled warmly. He held the steering wheel with one hand and stroked the little girl's hair with the other. "Big brother is fine, I will send you home first." The little girl insisted. "No, big brother should go see a doctor." After that, the little girl explained, "My home is near the bank. My family can pick me up from the bank if you send me there. Just listen to her. I will explain to the bank staff when we get there." Megan decided after thinking it through. Daryl nodded. At the very moment, his phone vibrated. It was a text message from Yvonne, so Daryl did not care too much about it. If it was not a call, it was probably nothing urgent. At the Young family residence, Yvonne sat on the sofa, holding the phone in both of her hands. "Why isn't he replying to my message?" Yvonne bit her lips tightly. She was not sure why, but she just wanted to talk to him. There was no reply after a long time. Yvonne felt like giving Daryl a call, but she was shy. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the bank, after sending the little girl away, Megan got into the car anxiously. "Go to the hospital and fix your wound." Daryl smiled slightly. "It's okay. Why go to the hospital? I've taken out the bullets." Megan frowned. "No way. What if you catch an infection?" As a police officer, she knew full well that if the kind of gunshot wound was not treated in time, it might risk getting infected. Daryl, on the other hand, was relaxed. "Don't worry about this small injury." "No, don't take it lightly." Megan was anxious. "Why aren't you worried about yourself at all?" Episode 130. Megan bit her lips and stopped talking when she noticed that Daryl was looking at her with a smile. "Have I cared too much about him? It's really not necessary." It's already late at night and the doctors are off work. Then, your wound, how are you going to deal with it? Megan frowned. She was quiet for a while before saying softly, why don't you go to my house? I'll help you clean up the wound and apply some medication. Daryl laughed and teased her, why do you care so much about me? Are you afraid that I will die? Megan panicked for no reason. After all, you were injured because of me. It was already late at night. Megan knew that it was inappropriate to invite a man to her house at such late hours. However, he was injured. How could his wound be left untreated? And it was exactly because of her that he was injured. Daryl nodded. Well, it's okay if you want me to go to your house and treat my wound, but you have to promise me one condition. What is it? Megan asked quickly. Daryl smiled slightly. You have to call me good brother. Megan was stunned, her face flushed. She stomped her feet in anger. How could Daryl pull a joke on her after all that had happened? Then again, Megan had no choice but to compromise. She called, good brother. Daryl happily responded and then started the car. Megan was both angry and amused. How old is he? How could he joke like that after suffering the gunshot? When they arrived back at Megan's home, Daryl sat on the sofa and Megan quickly took the medical kit out before she removed her high heels. She prepared the gauze, disinfectant and other necessary things, then leaned over to examine Daryl's wound. Megan was a gorgeous lady. At such a close distance, Daryl was attracted by the nice scent of Megan's body. He could not tell under her police uniform that her body was rather curvy. Megan was blushing when she noticed Daryl's gaze on her. Her hand pressed on the wound suddenly. Ouch! Daryl took a sharp breath and said, Riley, what are you doing? Do you want to kill me? This woman is too ruthless. You look at me again and I'll dig out your eyeballs. Megan blushed and glared fiercely. Daryl was helpless. If you are putting a bandage on my wound, of course, I have to look at you. Otherwise, where do I look? You knew where you were looking at. Megan said grimly. Daryl was a cultivator after all. After his wound was treated, he should be fine. Megan squatted on the ground and wrapped the gauze around Daryl's arm. She looked at Daryl solemnly. What were you thinking? Why didn't you dodge when they fired the shot? Daryl answered with a smile. If I dodge, the innocent will be hurt. In fact, Megan also saw the female college student at that time. She asked because she wondered what Daryl was thinking. Megan felt touched when she heard Daryl's answer. He was fearless and gave himself up to take the bullet on behalf of a stranger girl. How much courage is needed to do that? She had seen Daryl being mocked and ridiculed all the time. Even his name, Daryl, was a joke in Donghai City. Why are you looking at me? Daryl smiled nonchalantly when he noticed the changes in Megan's gaze. Actually, I am just an ordinary person. If I must pick something special about myself, then perhaps, I feel special to be a cultivator. Megan shook her head and said, no, you are really, really, really courageous today. Really? Don't you adore me too much? I'm married. Daryl joked. Again, Megan was blushing. She glared defiantly at Daryl. This Daryl is just too full of himself, isn't he? It's late. I'll take a bath and go to bed. You can rest here tonight if you want to. Megan stood up and said softly. She did not mean to offer up her place for him to stay overnight. She thought she was telling him to go implicitly by saying that. Unexpectedly, Daryl nodded in agreement. Okay, I will sleep on the sofa. What? Megan stomped angrily. Is he really sleeping here? If Elle let this man sleep here tonight, how would I explain to Kent Hoff when he finds out?
For more episode, don't forget to subscribe.